they're proposing. I think my limited notes on this, this passed, I think, 5 county congressional district pairings. This is basically saying that the platform is eliminated, but essentially a shorter statements of values held by the state party instead will be created by the governing board, the SDC. And essentially it's a replacement of the platform with something that's shorter and basically kicks the job to the SDC. That's the description, and I think this could be, I'm not sure where it's supposed to be inserted in the rules because it does not say. But this would be something that would be eligible to put in the rules if someone so if approved, Mr. Chair.
Right. Thanks so much. Is there any discussion on this item, this proposal?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
This is Jeff Strader. I represent Congressional District 30, as well as I'm the president of the Texas Stonewall Democratic Caucus. The party platform is extremely important to my caucus, especially as our issues change and evolve. And the existing party platform is something that every 2 years we add to and we amend and make important changes to. So I'm in favor of continuing our party platform instead of a statement. Party platforms have been key parts of conventions and parties, and it's a fundamental principle of our party to have one. And so I'm against this rule change. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Mr. McPhail, I'll go in order that I see the names.
Thank you, sir. This proposal, I believe, does have a lot to recommend it.
Okay.
I'm inclined to just vote to send it on to Permanent Rules Committee so that it can be debated further. I do have to agree with Jeff on one thing. Our party has come to expect the right to put forth in their official document what they specifically want in terms of public policy. I can see strength and weakness to both sides of the argument in this. It definitely is something interesting to debate. And I will say this, turning it over to SDEC, I think is a good thing because we can work on this for several months and SDEC members can take it back to their constituents and their districts and their caucuses, get full reasoned debate as opposed to, oh, we have 3 weeks until the convention. Let's slap something together and, get it all done. But then again, you could say the same thing about doing the platform that way as well. So while I am probably going to vote to send it forward to the full Rules Committee, I can see that not everybody would, but I do think it's an interesting idea. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comment. See, Mark Meyer.
Thank you, Chair. And of course, somebody starts doing their lawn work right when I get up. What I would like to know is I'd like to know actually which counties have passed this through. Do we have that information available?
Yes. I know it off the top of my head. It was only Travis. Travis consists of 5 congressional district pairings. I don't even think this passed Denton 26. Yeah, so it only passed Travis, whatever the 3 congressional districts.
Okay, understood. I'm intrigued by this actually. Sometimes I'm in Montgomery County. I'm the former chair in Montgomery County, and that's where all good things go to die. And one thing that sometimes happens with platforms is planks get used as cudgels for some of us who are in some of the more difficult parts of the state to run in. So I'm more inclined to send this to Permanent Rules also.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mark. I think Sharon Berry.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sharon Berry. committee woman for formerly SD3 and a Houston County chair, and I'm chairing of the foreman for the nominations committee. My thoughts on this is I would vote no, because Texas is not a standalone state, and we should abide by the national rules. Now, if this was a rule suggestion that came from the top down, then I could say yes, we would adopt it, and then add to it unique language that would pertain to Texas. But if we eliminate the platform, which I think is the reason we are in predicaments as we are, because we all get to the table, we forget the big picture, and we're concentrating on just what's unique to one. And I think we should remain having a platform committee. And I think, again, if this came from the top down, then yes, we would do that, and then add the unique language for Texas. But I am inclined to vote no on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Believe I see Susan Bradley.
Yes, I have two reasons for opposing this. Number one, I feel very strongly that our state delegates would feel rather disenfranchised if their input was taken away. And number two, I don't know if anyone remembers, but back in 2012, Texas was the first state to adopt a platform supporting marriage equality. After that, a number of other states followed suit very quickly, a few more in 2014, and in 2015, marriage equality became the law of the land. So I don't think it's totally ineffective. Thank you.
Thank you. Kay Parr.
Good evening. First of all, I have served on the SDEC for 5 years, representing Senate District 30. I am now currently the president of the Texas Democratic County Chairs Association. In both those capacities, I have represented a great number of rural counties and been a voice for them. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I think the rural counties would be adamantly opposed to this for a number of reasons. Having a platform that we can point to that is full of love and inclusion and really talks about the values that we have is so important, because we in these rural counties who are, so many of us are in red dominated counties. And for us to have something to contrast with the Republicans' platform, of which now they've eliminated theirs. So, but still, the fact that we can say, at least we will tell you what the Democrats believe in, and we're very proud to have you look at our platform, what we stand for and what we support, and have the general public have a document that reflects that. I'm not strongly in favor of having the SDEC rewrite this. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I would, whoever it was that said a lot of people would feel disenfranchised, I agree with that statement as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Randall Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the time I raised my hand, I thought that I was last. I see a few more people. I'm not in support of this. Number one, I think the SDEC should be focused on winning elections as the SDEC body, and for many of the other reasons as far as disenfranchisement, as other people have stated. And if appropriate, I'd like to make a motion to deny. And we can continue the debate in the 3-and-3 fashion that we normally do for debate on topics at the SDEC.
All right. We have a current motion to deny.
I would second that.
Okay. We have a second by, was that
Kay
Chairwoman
Parr.
Kay Parr.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
if we could please have a statement on what, just to be clarification, just to clarify that voting aye for this means it does not pass and voting nay for it means it does. Just wanted to clarify, just to avoid confusion.
Thanks so much, Jen. That's correct. So voting aye for this would voting in affirmative would mean that you are voting to deny, and then voting in a negative would mean that you're not voting to deny. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, we will entertain a vote. And
You still got discussion, Mr. Chair. Sorry.
was there a hand that I missed?
Philip McNutt.
Okay. Mr. McNutt, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Philip McNutt. I have served on the SDEC previously representing Senate District 4, and I am currently the Congressional District Chair for CD2. I was elected last fall. I am not in favor, I'm in favor of the motion.
Okay.
Do not think that this is necessary because it reflects and is almost a mirror image of what the Republicans have, no platform. And when we turn around and tell our voters and our people we have no platform, wait. This is part of dividing and showing the difference between our party and their party. We allow people to participate per convention to assemble the platform, to edit. It's very important, just as Jeff Strader said earlier, it's important to several different caucuses that they allow for engagement from their individual caucuses on a biannual period. So I'm in favor of the motion. I'm not in favor of eliminating the platform.
Thanks so much. Marco? You're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify a couple of things. This is calling for eliminating the platform at the state of Texas, the Texas Democratic Convention, the Texas Democratic Party level, not the national platform. I just wanted to clarify that. I know there was some confusion earlier. Also, wanted to clarify because it was in chat and I don't think the public can see the chat. So I think it's probably better not to have a bunch of discussion or peanut gallery in the chat. But someone did say that if this measure passed Congressional District 32 in Dallas as well. So that might have been some sort of a technical error. Regardless, it still would have come to this committee because it would have passed 6 instead of 5 congressional districts. But it did pass somewhere other than Travis potentially. And I think we have very likely because the person who's running the convention is the one who said it. We cannot call the question in committee. The idea is this is where we get our work done. So discussion can be had. However, I think my recommendation to you, Mr. Chair, since we do have to get through 10 of these, even though I think a couple of them are probably going to be out of order because they're changes to the election code, which isn't appropriate because these are rule changes, not election code changes. We're not the Texas legislature or the governor who signs bills. We do have to get through 10 of these. And since this is such a high threshold, essentially, if you can do this a little bit informally. If you have about a third of the body, you think through discussion, who is not going to be in favor of this, already that's not a reason to move on. So you can, basically say, is there anyone that's very strongly for this? And if not, you don't even need to take a formal vote to deny if you wanted to run it that way. But we can also do it the way that was just brought up. Yeah, so those are options for, the chair and the committee.
Thanks for those recommendations. I see two more hands, Marco. I want to make on this point, I want to make sure that we get through the ones who have their hands up. I believe that's AJ, and then Christian Schamberger, and then we'll end discussion there, and then we'll move into that.
Thank you. What I wanted to say is that if we move from a platform to a statement, it's like one of those Venn diagrams with the overlapping circles, moving from the whole diagram to the part in the middle where everybody agrees on a consensus statement. And just wanted to make that observation.
Thanks so much, Christian.
I kind of want to, Kristen Schamberger, committee woman for Senate District 2. I kind of want to echo AJ's statement that, I think our current platform, the way it's written, it's very large. And if anyone has seen the platform committee meetings at the state convention, they will know that a lot of the issues addressed in the platform are very controversial, and it causes a lot of discourse and dissent among Democrats. I think in a time where we need to be standing together and standing strong in what we believe, that allowing the delegates at the state convention to vote on this rule change would allow them to give a voice about how they want the future of our party to look and what they want our values to look like. I think, a short statement that says things that we all agree on is in the best interest of the party. So I will be voting no on the motion. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, well, now I'd like to entertain the motion. Vote. Is there anyone who feels strongly about this in supporting? If you do, you vote in an affirmative, would you raise your hand with the reaction hand raise emoji if you're voting in the affirmative for the motion? Is that clear?
No, that was not clear, and my dog started making a fuss.
All right.
Can you repeat it?
If you are voting for the motion, please raise your hand.
For the motion to
deny. If you are voting for the motion to deny, please raise your hand.
Mr. Secretary, are you counting, or do you need me to assist?
I see a counter ticker that's going on the participants. We're at 16 right now. Okay. 17.
I want to raise my hand, but I can't find it down here on the bottom. I had it.
Do you see where it says
reactions?
Reactions?
No, I don't see it anymore.
Click on.
There's a heart.
Yeah, there's a heart. It says react. Yeah.
Not on my screen neither.
Yeah, you click on.
I found it in the more.
It's in the more. That's what I was about to say.
Okay. I show 19 in the affirmative. Marco, if you could lower all hands, please.
Francine also has her hand raised, but the sound isn't working and she couldn't find the reaction.
Okay,
we'll put it down as 20. Thank you. Okay.
And all voting in the negative to keep the platform as is, will you please raise your hand?
Pardo, I thought you asked it the other way around.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, same.
You just switched it.
So sorry, y'all.
Can we start over, please?
Please.
One more time. My apologies. All voting in the affirmative to deny for the motion to deny, please raise your hand.
Okay, with 20 hands and one clap, I'm showing 21.
And that is including Francine Lee's hand, who's raised on the video, correct?
That's now 22. Thank you.
Now 22. Right.
We can lower all.
Can lower all hands. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I know that Randall, your co-host, I don't know where the lower all hands is. If you want to help tell me where that is.
Okay. I'm looking for it, but does Strader, do you have a question? Okay. Okay. Can call for the negatives while I'm looking for that.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, all those voting in the negative, please raise your hand. All right. Please keep them raised. With the tallier, please count each hand.
Mr. Chair, can you clarify what the negative means, like you did with the positives?
So the positive was to deny the motion. All those voting, the positive was to deny the motion.
And the negative is?
And the negative is to, I want to frame this. The negative is to not deny the motion.
To pass it.
To pass
Thank you.
Well, no, it would
No,
not
it is
pass
not to pass it.
Yeah, it would not pass
It would not be to pass it
Correct.
because the
More or less supported.
Stop with your explanation because it is not clear.
who's speaking? Sorry, I can't see you.
Philip McNutt.
I would like to, let's do this. I like the maker of the motion.
Sure. So
Thank you.
as the maker of the motion to deny it would not move it to the permanent committee. If you support that, you vote aye. If you a vote no would put it back on the table essentially for another vote because it still would not pass it on. You would need a vote to pass it to the committee. That's not what this motion is. This motion is to deny it. Okay, I count for it in the negative, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Are there any other votes still out? Just want to make sure. Okay. Believes all hands are down. Right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we only have two options of pass it on or not pass it on, or do we have a no recommendation option?
We do, but I mean, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean,
We're leaving it on.
both to say no recommendation, to say to deny, also to not do anything and just move on to the next one, which is what I'd recommend for you can do this informally and look at the consensus, and if there's not at least if there's not the votes to move it forward, you can do that too. All of those would not move it on to the next level. Now, if you took a vote to approve or took a vote and let's say there's consensus among everyone, and is there any objection to moving this to the committee? Then at that point, there's no objection and moves on to the committee. So, yeah, those are some methods.
I just wanted to clarify that if voting no on this motion was not automatically passing it, is that correct? Is not voting no on this would not be voting to automatically pass it on, because that's not part of the motion. That's my understanding. I just want to clarify.
The motion is to deny, so the effect is going to be the same. It's not moving on. It's not moving forward at this point.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, AJ, was your vote counted?
It was.
Okay,
I
perfect.
just had the question.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So with the vote count 22 to 4, this proposal is denied. All right. Thank you so much. Can move on to the next proposal.
All right. So this one is, little summary I wrote is raise the roll call threshold. The presiding chair can always do a roll call if they so choose, which is possible because they're the presiding chair. But if the body wanted to force the chair or the presiding chair to have a roll call vote, currently our rules say for any meeting, so convention or any executive committee, is that 10% of the body can force the chair to have a roll call vote. This rule essentially is, even though there is some problems with the idea is these are already supposed to be written in a way that we just insert in the rules. So, this is not written in the way you would want to insert it in the rules. But I think what it's trying to get to is that to force a roll call vote by the presiding officer, raise that to a majority. I think staff recommendation is that this is dilatory. It's also not logical, because then you would need to have a roll call vote to figure out if you can raise the roll call vote. It loops catch-22-ish. I think it's dilatory because it's raising it to a majority. So executive committees already have the power to increase this from 10% to say 20%, 25, 30% in their county bylaws under our rules. So that would be an option that this county, I think this came from Bear County, could do on their own. But raising it to a majority would be inappropriate. And, that's the summary from staff, Mr. Chair.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Is there any discussion on this item?
I have some point I wanted to raise, if possible. My name is Rod Jennings. I'm CD 38. Thank you for having me, and everyone, thank you for being here. I wanted to recommend that we look back at Marco's initial email, and just for clarification, we ought to make sure that when we vote yes to favor, no to not favor, or lastly, no recommendation. I think it was a little confusing in the last vote we had, so I wanted to make sure that we kind of operate on the KISS theory going forward. If this is going to be something we want to approve, we'll vote yes to favor it. If it's not approved, we'll vote no to not favor it. And I think that would be in our best interest going forward. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, I'll go in the order that I see hands. AJ.
I think raising it to the majority is a way to lose minority voices. And I don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Susan Bradley.
Yes, I believe the proper procedure is for us to look, for Marco to give us our synopsis, and then for you to ask if there is a motion to adopt. If there's no motion to adopt, or there is, but it's not seconded, then there's no reason to have discussion. We can move along much faster.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized? This is Toro and CD 21.
Go ahead.
Sir, I was trying to figure out if we could use the polling system that we have under Zoom, and that could just give you much more of a clarity of when you call for the vote, people can vote yay or nay on it directly. So you won't go into a confusion and misunderstanding of we're now looking for all the yays and now we're looking for all the nays and whatever. So that would just be easier.
Mr. Chair, can I be recognized just to
absolutely
talk about that real quickly? I'm sorry. I would suggest to not do that, especially since, you know, this is a public meeting and the public can see our votes. It's a lot easier to either see the little emoji or to hear by voice. So it's a little bit harder to immediately show the public the actual votes, since all votes are public. Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. I think Dean Tollison.
Hi. So I just wanted to, I am not here as parliamentarian, but I thought that I would put my parliamentarian hat on for just a quick second. The language in the rules in the call to convention says that if a resolution or rule change did not reach the threshold, the appropriate temporary committee shall consider the item. The committee may refer the resolution or rule change to the appropriate permanent committee by a 2/3 vote. So it has to get 2/3 in the affirmative to refer.
Here.
That's the threshold we're looking at. However anyone wants to phrase it, that's the goal we have to reach if we want this to go forward.
Okay, thank you so much. So I just want to clarify that for the entire body. You're saying we have to have 2/3 so that we cannot make a motion to adopt immediately. We have to go through the process.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we don't have any power to adopt. It has to, all we can do is refer to the permanent rules committee.
Thanks so much. Chairwoman Parr.
Thank you. I actually want to talk about this party rule that we're looking at. You know, my experience on the SDEC has been that, yes, it does take a long time to do a roll call vote at an SDEC meeting, and it can slow down getting through the agenda. But the only time I have seen roll call votes called is when they were really needed, when it would have been very, very controversial for someone to make a ruling based on a voice vote. And there are times when our votes do need to be recorded. How did we vote representing our SDEC? Well, SDEC is still going to be SDEC, our regions. And I think, an alternative to this, I do think it's a problem that we have, that it does take so long to do that. I don't think this particular change, platform change is a good idea, but I do think it's a good idea for the State Democratic Executive Committee to look at ways that we can vote electronically and have our votes recorded with our name shown as how we voted. Thank you
so much. Tracy.
I make a motion that we deny sending this to the permanent committee just based on the technicalities that Marco was saying.
Second.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I think we need to not make a motion to deny. And Marco's shaking his head yes, because that's what caused all the confusion last time. We don't have a motion to adopt yet. Not
Correct.
that we're actually adopting it, but that would mean we would pass it on. That's what we need to start, please, so we don't
So
have all the confusion.
we'll do, Ms. Bradley, we'll go through the discussion and then we'll vote each proposal up or down. All right. Marco, go ahead.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, to essentially do what I think the Vice Chair is recommending is the motion should always be to recommend this to the committee, and there should be a second. Then the discussion, and essentially at that point have a vote, and that way it's also clear to the public and very clear to members. If you're voting in the affirmative, it'll move forward. If you're voting in the negative, it won't go anywhere. So I think the recommendation, if we're going to do it that way, is for the member who recommended to deny it to withdraw their motion. and then someone to recommend to pass it, and then we'll.
Or just rule it out of order.
Perfect. All right. So if we cannot make the motion to deny, then that is ruled out of order. All right, Michael.
This is Michael from CD16 here in El Paso. I just had a quick question on this rule. I just want to make sure, just so I'm reading it correctly. This is only for our party executive committees, right? So like CEC, SDC, or does this also include like our convention process as well? I do have a question for Dina as our party parliamentarian. What does Robert's rules usually recommend for roll call votes?
Mr. Chair, do you mind if I answer?
No problem.
So it recommends in general, it would be a low number. The idea is to keep it accessible. But it also advises that some bodies find the need to be higher, just based on the nature of their body and how long a roll call might take. So in some bodies, it's a single member, and in other bodies, it's, 5. 10% is not an unusual number. I know that in some smaller CECs, that could be only one person. But 10% is within the normal range of what's recommended, but it could be higher. It would never be a majority. It should still be a smaller minority. Just based on the concepts of what the purpose of the roll call vote is.
Thank you. Marco?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chair Parr was saying earlier, that usually in general, a lot of the bodies that we have, when a roll call vote is taken, it's sort of needed because we need to know. But right now, this is the standard for, and this is to answer Chair Apodaca's question. It's the standard for convention and any executive committees for it to be 10% to call for a roll call vote. So that's a standard everywhere. But there could be an increase if that executive committee or convention wanted to increase that for some reason. So they could raise it to 15 or 25. That feels a little, I don't know. Not going to comment on that, but they could if they wanted to. A majority would be inappropriate.
Okay. Michael, is your hand still up from before?
Yeah, I just raised it up again. Just for a point of information for right now. Our current rule is it's 10% to do a roll call everywhere. Is that what's in our TDP rules right now?
Correct.
Okay, cool. I don't know if there's any further discussion, but I guess this might be an appropriate motion to make that I move to recommend this to the permanent committee so that we could close discussion.
All right, thank you. You just answered my question before I could ask it.
Second.
I have a second by Michael McPhail. All right. So the motion was made to close discussion, to move forward and close the discussion. We're going to now entertain their question. So someone's hand up. Okay, we're gonna go entertain it. We're gonna vote in the affirmative to move forward, vote in the negative to not move forward. Hopefully that's clear.
Mr. Martinez has his hand raised.
Mr. Martinez, is your hand?
Sorry, guys, it was left over from before, previous.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we'll now entertain a vote. All voting in favor to move this proposal forward, please raise your hand. please raise your hand, keep them raised. And Mr. Martinez, I want to make sure that this hand is raised for this vote and that's not left over. Is that correct?
It is correct.
All right.
It is for this vote.
Talliers, have you counted all hands?
I have 3, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. You can lower your hands. Looks like all in favor to move this forward. Would you please raise your hand?
I think you mean opposed.
I'm sorry. All in favor to not move this forward. Raise your hand.
Opposed.
All right, gonna give you just a few more seconds. Yeah. All right.
Mr. Chair, I have 24 in the negative. The motion fails.
Thanks so much. You may lower your hands.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am. Who's speaking?
Sorry, this is Committeewoman Ramos from Senate District 21. I wanted to inform you that this meeting is not made it to the live stream. I don't know if that was the intent.
Believe that was the intent to make
I
it to
wasn't
live?
whether or not.
Okay.
Let me, this is my first time being the live stream manager while also managing the Zoom. I will call for help. Thank you so much. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry, you can thank the Texas Young Democrats who are all wondering if we were just extremely Texas Democrat late or if it was just an issue.
So this whole time we could be using the polling system. Just here for jokes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no, we can never use the polling system. It's against our state party rules and national rules.
Wait, do we have to start over?
No.
Mr. Chair, point of information, Mr. Cecil Webster,
Yes, sir.
CD10. Question. So since 2/3 have to vote in order to move a proposal forward to the Permanent Convention Committee, on this last vote, there were only 3 people voting to move it forward. Based upon the number of people who are signed in here, I think you probably need somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20 votes in order to move it forward. So in situations where we only have 3 or 10 votes for to move it forward, do we really need to go forward with the negative vote?
It's present and voting.
Okay.
So if there's
Thank you.
3 in favor of it, what if the rest of us don't vote?
So much.
Thank you.
All right.
A motion carried.
All right. Next proposal.
Mr. Chair, just to get the ball moving, this is Cecil Webster again. I move that we forward this proposal to the Permanent Convention Committee, even though I will vote against it when it comes time to vote.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cecil.
My second.
Okay. We have a
I got a
recommendation.
second from Susan Bradley.
Recommendation to move this forward and a second.
I'll call you back, Drew. Sorry. Mr. Chair, now that we're in discussion, can I present?
Absolutely.
All right. So basically this is wanting to implement remote voting, which I would consider this a hybrid meeting for the convention. This is not something, hybrid meetings in general are not recommended in our rules because of the burden it is to have all the members who are present in person and all the members who are afar or not present not there in person, participating, for them to be able to communicate simultaneously the way that you would if everyone was all in person or all virtual, to where basically everyone's at the same level, is a really high bar to meet. So even just with a regular meeting, that's hybrid meetings, unless you meet a certain threshold, basically would be inappropriate to have. Remote voting, I mean, could be possible with technology, right? The thing you got to think about is if we have in-person state conventions, you have to make sure that you have all the technological resources to be able to do that at that convention center. To be honest, would need a question to see if any of our convention centers would be able to process that, and what the vendors are and what the cost would be. I would take a guess that it would be over $10,000. So that's something that I think would need to go through a budgetary process approval by the SDC of some sort, potentially. I think from a staff perspective, there's a lot of concerns about putting this in the rules for a lot of those reasons. But yeah, it's cost and also hybrid meetings. I think the last thing I'll end with is the SDC staff, parliamentarians worked really hard this last year to do a large reform of the rules that I think came to a very happy medium to make things more accessible virtually for the convention. So, that's why there's the electronic elections that are happening for the permanent committees. Essentially, all the temporary committees and most of the permanent committee meetings are going to be prior to the convention. And if I'm not able to get this live stream up and ready, I'll make sure that a recording will be posted on YouTube in the place where all the other recordings will be. So I mean, there's a lot of accessibility that we're doing, but we're also still having the in-person part. So yeah, I think there's a lot of concerns from staff on this one.
All right, thanks so much. We already have the motion to forward, but is there any discussion on this item?
I'd like to discuss it.
I'll start with the hand that I see.
There's several hands up.
I'll start with the hand that I see first. That's Kristen Schamberger.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
All right. Clayton Tucker.
Got these giant yard signs and
Good afternoon, y'all. So sorry, I'm in 2 meetings at once right now. So I am in favor of pushing this to the permanent committee. I am not saying that there's going to be a lot of devils in the details. I recognize that. I recognize there's going to be a lot that the committee will need to figure out. I would like to point out, though, that while it will be a burden, I recognize it will be a burden for us to figure this out and to figure out how to do it. It is also one hell of a burden for our folks, for our working Democrats, our real working class Democrats, to take the time off and the travel and to do all these things. I'm fortunate where I can take time off pretty easy and I can travel pretty easy. A lot of folks don't have that ability. So again, I would encourage that we send this to the permanent committee so they can discuss and figure out how do we make our party more accessible. We're heading in the right direction. We're heading in a great direction. But I think we should keep this momentum going and just have this discussion at the permanent committee level.
Thanks so much. Dina.
So I have some serious concerns about the legality of holding a hybrid vote or a virtual vote for the state party chair and vice chair. That is specifically listed in our election code as being in person at the convention. And replacement elections for state party chairs and county chairs are explicitly not able to use mail ballots. That is how we have justified a lot of our virtual voting as a type of mail ballot. So our backup on that, I think that this would require an election code change before we could pass it as a rules change. That's just my personal opinion, but I have serious concerns about that.
Thank you so much. McPhail.
Thank you, sir. I have very real concerns about this as well, but not necessarily for the reasons that have been raised so far, although I do agree with them. When I saw this, I immediately went to the state election code, section 174, subchapter D, which has to do with the biannual state convention. It mentions over and over and over again that all the stuff we have to do about publicizing and, you know, coming up with and publicizing the time, date, and place of the state convention, everything in that whole subchapter has a built-in presumption that there will be a physical in-person convention. Even the section that has to do with voting at the convention, the little exceptions that it makes no exception at all for remote voting. And this is not some ancient statute from the 1920s. It was last updated in 2013 to give state parties a lot more freedom to run their conventions the way they want, but they did not allow that. And to do this now, I think, puts us at real risk of legal noncompliance. I would like to say that we don't send this forward at a bare minimum until Texas Democratic Party legal counsel reviews the statute and finds out, can we actually, and comes up with an official opinion, can we actually do this under the laws of the state of Texas as it stands? Because our party rules cannot conflict with state party law. With state election law. Election law always trumps party rules. And another thing, let's be honest, this is not going to be a few people who have physical disabilities who can't get to the convention easily taking off. It will be a large number of people who don't want to go to the travel expense or the hotel expense, even if they have plenty of funds to do it. We know how this is going to go. And if we have a huge number of people suddenly opting out, can we even fill our room block? Can we even fill the convention center? Don't forget, one of the reasons that we picked El Paso was because they offered to give us $100,000 in money to help us run our convention. But the only reason they did it was not because we were renting their convention facility. It was because we were booking so many hotel room nights. They get a lot of sales tax money out of it, and the local hotels would get a lot of business. If we suddenly start shrinking our convention dramatically, is our contract with Corpus Christi, are we going to be able to meet that in 2026? What is it going to do for our future bids and years going forward? This would be it sounds nice on the surface, but the simple fact remains it will have far-reaching legal and economic impacts that have not been broadly discussed. The time is not ripe to send this forward. We need a legal review by state party counsel to make sure we can even do it. We need the state party staff to review the convention bidding process and the Corpus Christi contract for 2026 to make sure we can do it in 2026. I'm urging everybody, regardless of how you feel about accessibility of the convention, which, yes, has been an issue in the past, please vote no on this until we get some legal feedback and feedback from state party staff on economic impact.
Thank you so much. Michael.
Yeah, I mean, just to go with, I think, previous statements next to the legal questions that we possibly have and those items, but I feel like this would essentially destroy the idea of coming together every 2 years as a state party, seeing each other and having an actual convention. Now to add to what Michael just said, only reason we asked you all to come to my place is because for the last 22 years, I've been one of those delegates that have to get on a bus and go visit y'all. And we get there, we don't get there full capacity, but we get there and we have mechanisms. There is voting mechanisms. I know that we want to increase participation, with that, but as I think previous people have mentioned this, there's enough time in the Texas Election Code to make sure that people know where this convention is going to be. We've been advertising this for two years now. as well to know where our conventions are at. There's plenty of time for people who really truly want to participate in the mechanism of our party to participate in there. I do like the other things that we've been doing as a party, like making stuff that we're doing things quicker, and making our permanent committees meet sooner so we get the work done, versus having to scramble for the next 3 days. But I think I would not recommend this to the permanent committee, because essentially this is going to destroy the idea of having state conventions biannually.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just want to let you know that's 3 in the negative, and we have 1 in the affirmative.
Okay. Karen Wilkerson, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. I will be brief and echo the comments. I will be voting no on this motion for primarily legal and economic ramifications. It is extremely painful financially to the party to choose from the handful of convention sites available to house a convention as large as ours. And while I applaud the efforts to expand accessibility and to expand transparency about that, it's going to be almost impossible to find anyone to honor our contracts if delegates have the possibility of just avoiding travel and hotel and all the other expenses involved with convention entirely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Miriam.
So I too am, hi, I'm from Congressional District 25. I'll admit that I'm excited to go to El Paso because I'm from there, but our county, Hood County's delegation, we have 14 allotted delegates. We only have 8 going, because just for an example, for us to go to the airport, the closest airport is DFW. It's an hour and a half from our house just to get to DFW, and it's 2.5 to Love Field. But we're still in the DFW Metroplex. So just to give you an idea about travel. So we're going 1.5 to 2.5 hours east to go west to get to El Paso. But we're doing it because we know it's important to go and have our voices there at the convention. And so we are 8 strong, but we're doing planes, trains, and automobiles and partnering with the other counties in the DFW Metroplex to get on some of the buses going by. We're like, just scoop us up on the way out. But I can see the importance of having the virtual option, but I have more concerns, not so much with the convention size, but coming from a county that has an aging delegation, getting them to use the Zoom is a bigger challenge than more of a challenge than despite the hurdles of going out of town. It's easier for them to go out of town than it would be to have the virtual meeting. And I think you would lose some of that participation as well. So it's not just, yeah, it's great, you don't have to travel, but you also, we look at virtual options, look at the groups that you may also be leaving behind.
Thanks so much. Last 2 hands here. I have Sharon Berry and then AJ.
I thank you, Mr. Chair. I was listening to the comments, and I just wanted to, and I remember my days as a county chair, and I always looked to the point of taking my delegates to the convention, no matter where. And we just have to do a better job of fundraising and asking for help. And I'm not minimizing anybody's efforts. I live in East Texas. It's 2 hours. It's an hour for me to get to the Walmart. It's 2.5 hours to get to the airport. But we have to support each other, and we can't expect everybody to come to us. So I do realize the hardships, and I apologize, but we've got to just do better and just go wherever we're needed. To make it even simpler, with my military background, if the commander is in the house, everybody else is there. No remote voting. You show up. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. AJ.
First, I want to remind everyone that we do not have the power to approve this. All we can do is pass it on to be discussed. If we choose not to pass it on, then it will not be discussed. And that awareness that this has been, people are interested in making this change kind of goes away. It's like silencing that voice. We're not passing it. We're not adopting it. We're just saying, hey, take a look at this. See if this, discuss it. You know, do the legal stuff, do the things to see if this is actually feasible. That's all we're doing.
All right. Thanks so much, AJ. That's a great segue into taking our vote. Marco, did you have something to add before we do this?
Yes, and I think also Sarah Landsberg had their hand raised as well. So the reason why this is coming to this committee to be forwarded potentially to the permanent committee is because this rule proposal only passed 1 to 9 districts. So I mean, this committee has a job. If the assumption is we want to discuss it and look at it more, then that's fine. We can put it to the next committee. But they're already going to be handling, you know, triple the amount of rules that pass 10 or more. So, I mean, I don't think the rules intent is basically for y'all to say,
yay or nay.
Let's you know, let's push this all the responsibility to the permanent committee. The permanent committee needs to do its work. If y'all think something's worthy of having more discussion, then you know, push it to the next one.
Okay, Sarah, was there something
Thank you.
Marco said?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what AJ mentioned and kind of what Marco was saying about, like, I know obviously they've got a lot of rule changes to review, but this is also a very important discussion to be had, especially in the midst of, you know, still an airborne pandemic. So the accessibility is important, and everyone did raise extremely valid points regarding the legality and the technical aspects. But it definitely is something that we do need to continue to kind of workshop on how to make sure that we're bringing this to a larger amount of people, because it's not necessarily just about, you know, the ability to travel within the time frame. It's also just the ability to travel, period, for people, whether that's because illness, injury, or life situation. So I do think that it is worth at least continuing to have that discussion and raise that important point. But yeah, just everyone has raised really important points. So thank y'all.
Thank you so much. Is there another hand?
I think you got Alan Jamail.
Alan?
Yes, I just wanted to comment. Our conventions have.
And just, I feel like I'm in high school.
Do I have the floor?
You have the floor.
Yeah, members, just watch your mute button, please.
Our conventions have a lot to do with mobilizing our delegates and Democrats statewide. And it's kind of like prior to a football game when you have a pep rally. And it's something that motivates people and makes them, you know, participate more. And I think if you went virtual on some of this stuff, that you'd be taking that away. The next thing you know, that somebody will say, well, let's do away with the Democrat National Convention. Let's don't bring all the Democrats together nationwide and have a big pep rally. Everybody will tell you that the Democrat National Convention creates a momentum in winning elections and having keynote speakers and things like that. So I think we need to consider there's a lot of positive things by getting together and meeting together and deciding issues. That's my comment.
Thank you so much. All right. I'd like to believe that's the last hand I saw. I'd like to take this towards vote. Let's see. Okay, no more hands up. All right. All those in favor of moving this forward to the Permanent Resolutions Committee, please raise your hand.
Mr. Chair, I count 5.
Okay, thank you so much. Please lower your hands. All those opposed to passing this forward to the Permanent Resolution Committee, please raise your hand.
I see 21 plus, Francine 22.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to give it
Else.
a few more seconds. Is that everyone? Please keep those hands raised. Just make sure.
I got it. It's at 22. Motion fails.
All right, 22, motion fails. Thank you so much. Please lower your hands. Marco, can you give us the next proposal synopsis? While he's pulling that up, I'd also like to institute a limit of debate, help us move along a little bit quicker. I heard you at the beginning of the meeting, so I want to make sure that we're being efficient. I'd like to institute limits of debate to 1-minute speeches and 3 individuals in the affirmative and 3 in a negative to make sure it's balanced, and then limit it to 1-minute speech. Right. Right, Marco, are you there? Can you hear me?
Marco, you're muted.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Having an issue. 1 second. I cannot find for the life of me the button to share this screen again. Okay. Oops. All right, 1007. Allow county parties to vet candidates running in primaries. And after careful consideration, including the candidate's voting record, their stances on democratic issues, and their experience in managerial type office, be allowed to publicly disavow such candidates. So a couple of things. I feel like, I mean, someone could do this already. I mean, there's no prohibition on this. I'm not sure what the intent of the author is on the word vet. I hope that doesn't mean that they can disqualify and throw them off the ballots if that's what they're trying to hint at, because they wouldn't be able to. That's an election code change. So if that's the intent, then, you know, this would be out of order as an election code change, but I don't know what they mean by the word vet. Be publicly allowed to disavow such candidates. I guess that would be a rule change, but you would have to go and strike the part of the rules that this would change. Essentially, there's a part of the rules, and maybe even I can bring it up. I can bring it up pretty easily. That all party officers have to support our nominees. So anything that's essentially, if you're saying we want to publicly oppose a candidate, that party officer would be in violation of our rules. And so they should be removed because of that. Supportive nominees. It's right here. Bye. So yeah, I think there's a lot of issues with this. Yeah, that's the staff comment and sort of synopsis.
Thanks so much. Is there a recommendation to move this forward?
So moved.
Right?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I wanted to provide some.
Who's the second? I'm
I
sorry.
wanted to
Second by Toro.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to provide some context into this rules proposal, seeing that it came out of Hayes County.
Okay.
So the proposal came out of Hayes County based on issues that they have had, in particular with their not only candidate, but nominee and now elected for county clerk, who is now under investigation and is likely going to be removed for not filling out the roles and duties of the position. And so this was an issue that we had within the county regarding, is it legal? What can we do? And we had to navigate this very difficult situation, because I did exactly read that rule that Marco just read about being in violation of not supporting the nominees, but that was a big concern. I've also heard this concern from Travis County, where we had a former Republican who ran as a Democrat and ran on the Democratic ticket and removed a well-liked incumbent, and who caused a lot of issues with their litigation. I believe they were called a vexatious litigant by the Bar Association, if I'm not mistaken, but those are just some backstories to how this rule came about.
Was that in the affirmative?
That was just information. It was
content.
it was on, not for or opposed.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move into discussion. 3 in affirmative, 3 in the negative, and then I'll call on you as the hands are in order. Jen, your hand is still up. Would you like to give a comment in affirmative or negative, or were you originally asking to be recognized?
It was just on. I
Okay.
am neither for or against it, mostly just because it creates a slippery slope. In
Gotcha.
the sense that if a candidate for some reason does not receive the liking of the party, let's say an incumbent is challenged by another nominee in the future, that could cause issues, and this rule could be used later in the future. So I could go either way on this one.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we'll do 3 in affirmative, 3 in the negative, and limiting to, just a reminder, limiting to 1 minute speech. And I'll start with the order of hands that I see. I see Chairwoman Parr.
Thank you so much. I'll be very quick. The county chairs are the filing authorities in your county for local races, and everything that we do is spelled out in chapter 141 of the election code. And if the candidates meet specific criteria, we are required to accept their applications. And we cannot have a discussion behind closed doors and decide we like this candidate, we don't like that one, or whatever. And we would be found legally liable. We would open ourselves up to a lot of lawsuits. And just so you know, county chairs do not get legal counsel. We don't have any legal counsel that paid to represent us. So we are on our own to defend ourselves if we get sued. So this is a bad deal, and I think it violates the election code. Thank you
so much. You're right about that county chair deal. I found that out. All right.
Personal experience, huh? Yeah.
Kristen, is your hand up to speak in affirmative or negative?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think from my understanding of the proposal and of our party rules, I don't think that this is in opposition to our party rules or to the election code. The party rules say that it's a you know, party officials can't endorse an opposing nominee. A candidate running in a primary is not yet a nominee. And this is not, the proposal is not saying that the county party should be allowed to take them off the ballot. I think that the proposal needs a little bit of tweaking and some clarification, possibly with legal counsel. But I think that this is a concern that a lot of county parties have. And I think it's a discussion worth taking to the permanent committee and to the delegates.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, could I just ask when folks speak, if they start off with saying which side they're on, so that way I don't assume it?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Right. Marco, is your hand up here?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to just this is informational. I wanted to thank Member Ramos for giving some context to maybe what this is trying to solve. I think though it's a complex issue, and you know, Member Parr brought up a couple of reasons what you can and can't do under the election code. That being said, you know, if the election code violates, you know, our constitutional rights or case law sort of stuff, you know, I know if I was to talk to counsel, many times they have said, like, if we wanted to, in an extreme circumstance, you know, we could for a specific reason, because that's our constitutional right as a party to organize ourselves, but that's not something that the election code allows for. So this can get messy super quick. This is a complex issue. Is also timing depends. If it's pre-primary, after they're elected, between primary and the election, yeah, this is really messy. And you know, the wording isn't, if it's trying to fix something, I'm not sure exactly how it fixes it. Yeah, so I'm very afraid of this one, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Michael.
Yeah, no, and to go, I'm against this as well, to kind of echo what Kay said, and obviously, Chair, since you're also a county chair, you know, we are, as a county chair myself, this really is risky, because I have a feeling that some county chairs would probably try to use this to remove a candidate off of the primary, which then they'll get sued and everything. But I think we already have the ability to do this anyways, without being the election authority. Just like, I mean, we can share, like, one thing that we passed as the CEC this year in my county is we passed, every time we put a candidate who filed in our primary, we put their voting record up there so it can be public. And so like, I think there is some mechanism in there, but I think the way this is written, this is very dangerous, very scary, and I have a feeling some inexperienced county chairs will use this as a mechanism to remove a candidate that files in their primary, to remove them illegally.
Thank you. AJ.
I'm not sure if I'm for or against. I don't know what to say up front. I do want to point out that Harris County did a vote to censure a candidate. So this process can happen without any changes being made. So I guess maybe I'm against it.
Point of order was to admonish, not censor.
Sorry, I misspoke. But yes.
Thank you. Tracy, are you in the affirmative?
I'm in the negative on this.
We've had 3 in the negative.
Have 3.
Okay.
Any in the affirmative? Anyone? Is there a hand from Sharon Berry?
Mr. Chairman, I am in the affirmative that this should go forward. Just because of the discussions that we've had, we need to address that. And being on both sides of the aisle with all the examples that's given, county chairs sometimes enforce the rules, and sometimes county chairs are the reasons that we need to have someone else enforce the rules, because they don't always just follow the rules. So I think I'm definitely in the affirmative that this should go forward.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in the affirmative on this item?
Mr. Chair, can I just say something administratively real quick? It's Marco.
Go ahead.
So there are some technical problems with the live stream. So this recording we'll put on the YouTube afterwards. I do apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No problem. Thank you for that update. Miriam, are you in the affirmative on this?
I am. I've seen, luckily they're not Democrats doing it, but we in Hood County have had a lot of issues with residency issues and actually meeting the basic qualifications for the jobs that candidates are filing for. You've probably seen the news. We make the news every day on stuff that our Republican friends in Hood County do. And the fact that if some of them were to run as Democrats, they could just get on the ballot just absolutely scares daylights out of me, because they will say that they're Democrats and burn it to the ground in Hood County and say, look what the Democrats did. And so I think chairs should be able to reject some applications for those specific reasons.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in the affirmative?
Mr. Chair, that's 3 in the affirmative.
All right, thank you. I believe we've entertained 3 in the negative and 3 in the affirmative. I'd like to take the vote. All those in favor of moving this forward to the Permanent Resolutions Committee, will you please raise your hand?
You mean the Rules Committee, Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry, Rules Committee. It's been a long day, y'all. My apologies. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I show 6 in the affirmative.
All right, thank you. Please lower your hands. All right. All those in favor of not moving this forward, please raise your hands.
Mr. Chair, I see 21 hands plus, for Francine is 1, so 22 hands.
Okay. 22 hands.
Motion fails.
Thank you so much. Marco, can you please read the next synopsis of proposal?
Sure. So this is 1008 county party infighting and conflict resolution. Essentially, TDP should recognize this and develop guidelines and policy on how a county party can diffuse conflicts and foster cohesion. The last one is TDP will become certified in conflict resolution and offer that training free to party chairs and their CECs. I think from a staff point, this is very, very well taken. As far as the intent and the point, I know that we have a disciplinary committee, and I won't steal maybe a member's thunder who wants to talk about this a little bit. But I know that there was a parliamentarian conference that happened a couple days ago, and we have a disciplinary committee where what happens with a lot of disciplinary committees is that basically when there's infighting within a county party, that just goes to the disciplinary committee and just keeps on going. And really what it should be happening instead is that there's some sort of, conflict resolution, some sort of mediation that should take place instead. So I think this is well taken. The problem is, I mean, this is definitely over 10K to, get people certified. This is probably a full-time employee or more. And also it doesn't say one person, it says the TDP, so that's the organization. How many people in the organization get certified with this? I think, what the chair from Bastrop County is recommending is something that I know as staff I want to look into and talk with our board and potentially facilitating budgeting, talking to the appropriate lawyers or stuff like that. But the way this is written and putting it in the rules, it is an unfunded mandate that is, I think, of like a decent cost. I think there are some staff concerns when it comes to that. And Mr. Chair, I'd recommend if someone would make a motion to recommend this so we can have discussion.
Thanks so much. Is there a motion to move this item forward?
So moved.
Second.
Rod Jennings, and seconded by
Kristen.
Schamberger. All right. Again, limits of debate on this: 3 in affirmative, 3 in the negative, with 1 minute speech. I will recognize Rod Jennings.
Thank you. I will try to be brief. I've experienced a lot of vitriol in some of the meetings I've been. I'm fairly new to being a CD chair and also precinct chair. I'm actually about 5 years here in Texas. I've just noticed, and I have to qualify that I am a certified gun violence de-escalator. I've been to peace training at the Martin Luther King Center. In my recent experience, I saw a lot of microaggressions, a lot of division between old school thinking and new school thinking. Some of it was along racial lines as well as socioeconomic groups. And I think it would be in our selfish best interests if we did have some kind of diversity training so we could recognize how we really can try to agree to disagree rather than get stagnated in disagreement and not get anything done. So I'm very much in favor of this. It could definitely help and it wouldn't hurt at all.
Thanks so much. Dina.
I'm going to speak against sending this forward, but I want to clarify that as I'm actually in favor of the concept. As Marco alluded to, I just went through, we had a parliamentarians training conference this past weekend, and one of the things that was brought up is that oftentimes our standing disciplinary committees become conflict resolution committees. And so we actually had already started the discussion on what can we do to separate that out so we aren't bogging down our disciplinary committee. Those talks are ongoing, but the problem is that the way this is written up, it becomes an unfunded mandate. It's going to cause a change in the budget, which there's process for that. This doesn't actually go into any specific rule changes. I have fundamental issues with the way that this particular proposal is written, and I don't think that it's proper. But the concepts inside of it, I think, are invaluable, and I'm very much in favor of those. Unfortunately, I just don't think this is the right way to do it.
Right. Thank you so much. AJ.
Sophia, over here.
AJ. Your hand.
Trying to unmute.
Okay.
Okay. I think that maybe this doesn't belong in rules. Maybe this belongs in resolutions. This sounds more like a resolution than a rule. And so I'm against it for that reason.
Thank you so much. All right. Please remember, when you come off mute, please state if you're in the affirmative or negative on it. All right. Cecil Webster.
Yeah, good afternoon. Cecil Webster, CD10. I am against this proposal. As Mark alluded to, I'm the chair of the disciplinary committee, and we could definitely use some help with regard to this. I like the fact that it talks about some guidelines and some policies, but implementation through becoming certified in conflict resolution conflict resolution is a totally different ball game, and I don't think this is the appropriate way in order to make that happen. So I'll be voting against this.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, just that was 3 in the negative, and we have 1 in the affirmative.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I see Alan. Is there anyone else in the affirmative whose hand is raised? Just want to make sure. Alan, I see Alan and Miriam.
I'm in the negative, so if you've already got 3 in the negative, I'll lower my hand.
Thank you so much. Miriam,
I just had a question.
before you go to your question, is there anyone in the affirmative who would like to speak on this item? Okay. All right. Hearing none. All right, Miriam, you have the floor.
So my question was, since just listening to some of the discussion, is there a mechanism for us to forward this onto the Temporary Resolutions Committee for them to look at it instead of a rule? Like, since it's not a rule, the consensus of some of the speakers, this isn't really worded more as a rule, it's more of a resolution than a rule. Can we send it to resolutions instead?
Marco. You're muted if you're speaking.
Sorry, lots of Zoom issues. Apologize. Also, I'd like to apologize. That is something I should have briefed y'all on. If something's not appropriate to be a rule, you can definitely refer it to either the resolutions, temporary resolutions, or temporary platform. That would be appropriate as well. But of course, right now you're in discussion to move it to the permanent rules committee.
All right, thank you so much. So we've entertained the affirmative and the negative on this item. Sarah, is this a question?
No, I wanted to actually amend the motion.
Okay.
All right, I wanted to amend the motion to pass this on to resolutions for further study and review.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Okay, so the current motion is to pass this on to resolutions for review. Is that correct?
That's the proposed amendment to the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a little cleaner than that, though. Dina, you might want to weigh in, because that's not really amendment it's not really close to the original motion.
Yeah, I don't know that it would be within the scope.
Yeah, it probably needs to be withdrawn and then a new motion.
Exactly. I agree. I would like to rescind my original motion and then make a new motion that this be sent to the resolutions committee for their review.
Second.
Those are 2 separate things, by the way.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, Dina,
So we got to vote on the rescinding and then on the moving on.
Okay,
Dina, can you repeat your comment one more time? I couldn't hear you.
They're 2 separate motions. They're the one to withdraw, you can ask that just by unanimous consent if anyone has an objection to withdrawing it, because it does belong to the body right now. Then the other one come up immediately following dealing with the motion to withdraw.
Okay, I see 2 hands raised. Kristen Chamber.
Yeah, just a parliamentary question. If Rod made the original motion to recommend it to the resolutions committee or the permanent rules committee, doesn't he have the ability to withdraw his motion without having to vote on it?
No, because it was seconded and discussion happened.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Sir.
So from what I hear is no objection to the withdrawal of the motion, and I have a motion to send to the temporary resolutions committee by Rod Jennings, second by Philip McNutt.
That's correct.
And now I believe we're on discussion 3 and 3. Or if we're ready to vote.
Yeah, or Mr. Chair, you could say, if there's no objection, we can push this to the temporary or refer this to the temporary resolutions committee.
Just making sure I don't miss anyone on this discussion piece. All right, so if there's no objection, we will move this on to the temporary rules committee.
Resolutions.
All right, resolutions committee. Thank you.
Can somebody please get Cardall a big cup of coffee? I think this day is getting to him.
Thank you, Michael.
We all have long days.
We're going to DoorDash a 55-gallon drum of coffee over to Cardale.
That'll be great.
Right on.
Next.
Mandating call time for executive officers in the Texas Democratic Party. Texas Democratic Party hereby supports 10 hours of call time per month. The hereby supports is kind of written in a resolution anyway, rather than a rule proposal. For the party executive officers within the Texas Democratic Party, there are 5. It outlines who those are, and also says that the job description of all of them, that the 10 hours should be added. I think the only staff comment from this would just be how procedurally, like, how do you keep track of this? Like, how is this reported? I think there's just a lot of questions on what if they don't do it. Like, I'd be confused on how to facilitate this as staff. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there a recommendation to move this item forward? All right. Any discussion on the item? 3 in affirmative, 3 in the negative, 1 minute.
Mr. Chair, just point of information. Did we get a motion to approve it?
No.
Yeah, I didn't hear a motion or a second, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, so if we don't have a motion, we don't have to even
So
discuss.
it automatically fails.
All right.
Yeah, we could just move to the next one if no one says anything, Mr. Chair.
It's not recommended.
Thank y'all. Michael, I've done a ton of call time today. So I'd appreciate that coffee.
Mr. Chair, this is Rule 1014.
Thank you.
There was also a amended version that says allowing 4 consecutive 2-year terms instead of 2 2-year terms.
Okay.
I think I had some notes on this. Okay. So therefore be resolved, the Texas Democratic Party shall enact and enforce a 2 consecutive term limit for party executive officers in accordance with the Democratic Party's principles and best practices. All right. There's a lot of issues with this one, and I think at the end I'm going to recommend that you rule this out of order. So in accordance with Democratic principles and best practices, I think that's vague. So I'm not sure if that's appropriate to be in the rules. This also says party executive officers. I don't think this person, is, read a lot of our rules, or the author has read a lot of our rule updates. But party executive officer means something specific. All party members are party officers. So a party executive officer would mean any one person who's a member of an executive committee. So this doesn't say state party executive officers. So to me, this means precinct chairs. This means when you have district executive committees of a congressional district or a county commissioner district, for either expansion or whatever purposes to fill a nomination. This also falls under them. And so this means a consecutive term limit. So the way this reads right now is trying to limit the ability of precinct chairs to serve for more than 2 terms, county chairs, SDEC members, the state chair, the state vice chair. This is an election code change, even if they were just referring to what I think they're trying to intend, which is the state chair and the state vice chair. If this was limited to only maybe the state vice chair for finance, the state treasurer, and the state secretary, those are non-statutory members. And so that would be completely appropriate. But this is an election code change, even if, I'm reading between the lines what they're trying to get at, which is basically the state vice chair and the state chair. But the way this reads, this also means precinct chair on up. This is an election code change. This is inappropriate for the rules. Staff recommendation is to rule it out of order.
All right, thanks so much.
So moved.
Is there a recommendation to move this?
I just noticed something, if you don't mind my saying.
Who's speaking?
It mentions sorry, this is Dina.
Okay.
This says 2 consecutive terms. One of the updates said 2 consecutive 2-year terms. The state party officers have 4-year terms.
All right.
So that alone is an issue as well.
Noted. All right, thank
Mr.
you.
Chair,
Yes.
I move that this is out of order.
Second.
For a second. All right.
I believe Cardall gets the privilege of ruling it out of order.
Thank you.
Can we just move to the next one?
Yes, this item is out of order. All right, we'll move to the next one.
All right, this one's making, sorry, am I off mute? Yeah, this is making, this comes from El Paso County, so maybe the El Paso County chair can talk a little bit about maybe why this is happening from his county. I used to be a precinct chair in El Paso County as well. County parties by majority vote shall be able to designate former precinct chairs as holding emeritus status and allow them to attend and participate in meetings and party activities with voice but not vote. I think the first issue is I don't know what voice but not vote is. I can maybe read between the lines, but that's not appropriate to put in the rules because that has no true meaning. The rest of it is 100% completely superfluous. Any executive committee already has the ability to create positions, create officers by majority vote. And so the county party can do that already. It can't do it in perpetuity. This is something that would need to be voted on one by one or each term to make someone an officer, unless they put it in their bylaws. And as long as that bylaws doesn't conflict with the state party's bylaws or the election code or the Constitution, DNC, blah, 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 it would be fine to make that, be a reoccurring position that gets filled in a way under the bylaws or whatnot. But if the El Paso County Democratic Party's CEC had a motion to make, so-and-so an emeritus chair, that's cool. And the thing is, allow them to attend and participate in meetings. I mean, the presiding officer can already recognize people to participate in a meeting, or the body can vote to allow someone to participate in a meeting, to put someone on the agenda, et cetera, et cetera. Party activities, I mean, people, yeah, this is superfluous for from a rules standpoint, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much for the context. Michael.
Yeah, it was quite silly. As a chair that this came out of, basically the background is the person who recommended this defeated a longtime county chair, and he felt kind of bad about it and wanted to see how she could still participate. And basically everything that Marco said, that's what we said at the convention. And I'm actually kind of shocked that it made it to 10 counties. So I strongly do not recommend this to the permanent committee, because I think the county parties can already do this regardless without making this a rule change. So,
It passed
yeah.
3 counties,
So
by the way. 3.
Oh, past 3? Okay, yeah. Awkward. So yeah, and that's basically the background of it. It was just guy to, I guess, honor this longtime precinct chair that he defeated. And so, but basically the same discussion that you just said, Marco, that's the discussion that we all had, and that's the point that I made, that basically we could do this regardless, and all CEC meetings are open to the public, so it's really kind of pointless. So I really strongly do not recommend this to the permanent rules committee.
Thanks so
Mr. Chair,
much.
if we can get a motion so we can stay in order, or let it die for lack of motion.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a recommendation to move this forward? All right, motion fails. Thank you so much. Next motion, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am. Do you have a question?
I would make a recommendation that the last 2 be together, since they are basically talking about the same thing. It's just a number of non-binding resolutions.
I'm sorry, I can't understand you. Can you repeat that one more time?
So the last 2 are basically both requesting non-binding resolutions on the ballot. One has.
You're really muffled.
We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. The last 2 proposed rules changes are very similar in nature.
Right.
I was thinking, I was trying to see if we could hear them together, since one has a limit on it and the other one does not.
Okay, that should be fine.
Yeah, I can do the explanation, both of them, if that's what's being asked. Okay, so we have primary ballot referendas, and I know there's some members that have been a long time on the SCC we've talked about primary ballot referendas in different ways over the last couple of years or cycles, or decades really, and this one refers to. I know that it says non-binding resolutions, but it essentially means it's the primary ballot referendas that may appear on a primary ballot. The SCEC did not add any to the primary ballot the last 2 cycles. I think that's after some discussion that was had that I won't necessarily get into. But they did not present any, and there weren't any presented by petition. So for the last 2 cycles, there hasn't been any. So this is saying that the TDP should add a small number, not to exceed 6, of essentially referenda on all primary ballots beginning in 2026. And then it specifies that these resolutions from the SCC, from Texas Democrats passed by a certain percent, not to exceed 51% of county parties, or by petitions of Democratic citizens, or based on a number of votes in the previous presidential governor election turnout. And then when resolutions for the ballot come from county parties, or by petitions of Democratic citizens, or at least 50% of the non-binding resolutions on the ballot, these must come from these categories. I'm not sure what categories is, to be honest. And then if I could talk about this one, since it's somewhat related, even though it's different, but it still talks about the ballot referenda. Therefore be it resolved there's no more than 3 propositions to be included on any Democratic primary ballot, and no proposition to exceed 40 words. Both of these are changes in the election code. The election code gives the power to 2 types of people to put referenda on the ballot. It's the SDC and people by petition in a certain methodology. So that's already prescribed by law. This is essentially trying to take away that power of the SDC and the petition signers in different ways. I think this is an election code change. As staff, I would recommend to rule it out of order, Mr. Chair. And I'm happy to bring up the referenda section in the election code if you give me a second as well.
Okay. If you can pull that up, that'd be great. In the meantime, Madam Vice Chair.
Yes, Cardall, thank you. I was gonna make 2 points, but we haven't got to discussion yet. So I will wait because there's no need for me to comment if it's ruled out of order.
Thank you. Chairwoman Parr. Just the FYI, we're not at discussion yet. So
Yeah, so it was a discussion item, so I'll pause. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
yes, ma'am.
I would like to rule both of these out of order.
Okay.
She said both.
Both.
Oh.
Since both would require changes to the election code.
I second that motion.
Thanks so much, Toro. Marco, are you ready?
Yeah, I'll just, hopefully that's big enough for most people to read.
It is.
So I'll just highlight that.
Okay. Kristen Schamberger.
I would also agree with the statements that this is out of order. This is contrary to the election code. This would have to be a change by the state legislature, not by the Texas Democratic Party. There are only 2 ways to get a referendum on the ballot, and we can't change that on our own authority. So I believe this proposal is out of order.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's do it this way. Is there a recommendation to move this forward?
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to rule it out of order on the table that has been seconded.
Cardall gets to decide whether it gets ruled out of order or not.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All right. Hearing no recommendation to move this forward, motion fails and is out of order. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, you are ruling this out of order, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Chair, there's no more business. I'd recommend that you adjourn.
All right. Well, thank you guys for participating on this call tonight. We have held, I think, 31 strong on the call. No one has dropped. So thank you for staying with us and making sure that we're executing party business ahead of the convention. Both myself and Marco, party staff, will be in communication with you guys moving forward. And I believe—
Point of information?
Yes.
Just want to clarify. So there is no further business for this temporary committee at this point?
Correct.
Yeah, and there won't be any more, because everything would move. Y'all have completed everything that's assigned to y'all.
What if something gets sent to us like we sent to the resolution,
Yeah.
temporary resolutions?
Oh, that is very true. That is a scenario.
Unlikely given what's out there, but possible.
Yeah, but then also, you know, the chair of this committee could choose to call a meeting to entertain that one, or they could choose not to. And they may want to already start with the permanent committee.
All right. So those are our scenarios. If
I have a
in fact
question.
any of those things happen, then we will reconvene. But as of 8:36 p.m.,
I
this
have a
meeting is
question.
adjourned.
I have a question.
Oh.
Yes, please. Actually, the question is for Marco. For our constituents who were not able to see the live stream, how would the recording be handled, Marco?
They can go to our YouTube page. We'll upload that. I'll get with my the rest of the staff that who know how to do that and get it uploaded to YouTube. So it would be at that same link, that txm.co/live. That's posted. The recording will be there.
Okay.
And I will work to ensure that don't have any scheduling conflicts or have any technical difficulties in the future. So I do apologize to everyone.
No.
Marco,
species occurs.
To be clear, that was tonight's meeting was supposed to be on YouTube. So did it not happen, or it is going to happen?
So it was supposed. Thank you for asking the question to clarify. I think the meeting is already adjourned, so I'm happy to just answer these questions. txm.co/live brings you to our live stream page of things that are currently streaming, planned on being streaming, and have been already streamed. We can also upload to that page. So I think from how I understand it is if I get this recording, it can just be uploaded to that page. Also, the intent was for it to be live streamed, but I think it can be uploaded after the fact. I'm not 100% on that, but I will work with staff to get it posted on our YouTube, essentially.
One additional thing, Marco, if you could just send us the link to the committee members so we can make sure our constituents do get a chance to view it. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. If you go to the pre-schedule, so let me make this a little bit of a teaching moment. So if you go to the Texas Democratic Convention website,
YouTube recommended it to me. That's how I knew about it.
Oh, cool. So you probably follow us then that's what YouTube did. Okay, so you have schedule, events, delegates, sponsors. The schedule is for the actual days of convention. The pre-schedule is for everything from now to the 5th. So all the work that we're going to do prior virtually. And here's the convention business stuff. So if you go to the pre-schedule, this lists where all the committee members are. It also has a link to the main schedule, which is the June 6th through 8th schedule. But for now through June 5th, it lists everything. So if you were to go to this committee, it should have been live streamed. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. But if you go to txm.co/live, whenever there's any live stream for any of the committees, that's where it'll be at. And also recordings, and also I believe we can upload it there. So I think the idea is once you click on that, it would have showed up here. So yeah. For instance, here's the credentials committee that we had the other day. txdem.co/live.
And you think it'll be available tomorrow?
I will hope so. I know that the recording has to render. It usually takes double the time of the meeting. If this was 2 hours, it'll take maybe 4 hours, and then it has to get uploaded. Yeah, that would be the goal. But again, I'm not exactly sure because I wasn't able to communicate with the rest of the team in real time while I was helping facilitate this meeting. So get it up on YouTube somehow is the plan.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Thank you all so much. Have a great night.
You
Thank
too.
you, Mr. Chair.
Good job, everybody.
Thanks to everyone for their commitment. Thank you.